Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's HR Disruptor Summit 2022. I am your host and founder of the summit, Jan Barlow. And today I have a special guest who's also a facilitator for the HR Disruptor Summit 2022, Lois Sonstegard of Build Tomorrow. Hello, Lois.
Hello, everybody. It's so great to be here. So great to be with you all and to just share in this journey because, my goodness, aren't we all on a journey right now?
I tell you what, Lois, when people start to talk about comparison of success or progress, I, I just sit there and go, if you're comparing today to 2019, that's probably not correct. 2020 changed human behavior. And so when we look at everything, everything from buying behavior to eating behavior to everything, I mean, this is on a global level. It wasn't just isolated, right?
That is so true. And, we keep thinking that somehow things are going to new normal, but I don't think anybody realistically thinks we're going to go back to what was normal before. But there is this hope that the uncertainty might diminish. And I think that's the challenge that we have is that sense of will it diminish?
You know, um, I think really what hit home with me, besides when we initially met in January, February of this year, and so grateful to Catherine McCord for introducing us.
You're
Um,
here. Thank you, Catherine.
yes, hello. I just want to I couldn't believe some of the stats that you shared with me. So you and I are, even though Lois, you are the who's who of the Fortune 100's coach to the CEOs. I know you have a heart for those startup businesses. And when you shared those stats a couple of months ago in one of your LinkedIn posts, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Now, it's one thing to know it, but to see the numbers behind it really hit close to home. And really, when it came to those numbers, it really resonated when it comes to the summit. And our theme of this year around Reimagine Work is about collaboration.
Yeah.
So when I mean, listen to this. I have to share this with you all. So Lois wrote a blog post a couple of months ago, and it said we can't compete against big players for cash, labor, or access to critical resources, of course, like talent, right? And I want to ask everybody, did you know that 89.7% of all US firms have 20 or fewer employees? That's one. Number two, more than 50% of the US working population is employed by small businesses. And then the three, of course, is approximately 543,000 new businesses start every month. Now, we know, excuse me, in 2020, 4.4 million businesses started. And in 2021, 5.4 million businesses were created. Now, these are people that could be working for someone else and decided to start their own side gig. But really, Lois, what do you say with all that? I mean, that really was some eye-awakening stats for me.
Yeah, it is. It is eye-opening. And so let me just start by saying, Jen, I love what you're doing because I think what you're doing with this summit is so incredibly important. And some of the things that I'm going to talk about and share, I think might be perceived as negative, scary. And I'm sharing them because it sets the stage for what is needed. I'm actually very optimistic because I see a lot of people like you who really care and are involved in making a difference, changing our work environment. At the same time, in just the last couple of days, I have had conversations with a number of people who have made me take a very deep breath and say, we are on an accelerated path where we really need to do something dramatically different in terms of how we look at the workplace, because it's changing under us at a fast rate. And here's why I'm optimistic. I think once you understand what the challenges are, then we have a choice to do something about it. And we know how to do it. We can do it. And so that's what I'm excited about. And I think collaboration is really one of those ways that we're going to be able to address these issues. So shall I start?
Please share. Thank you, Lois.
Okay. So there we go. Takes me a little while, guys, to...
All good.
Here we go.
Plenty of time.
So one of the things that I want to just define as we get started is, what is collaboration? For me, collaboration is when two or more people are coming together to accomplish a common goal. So it's not just sitting around and saying, oh, I want to have a conversation with you. No, it's to be proactive, to have a common goal so you really can achieve a result. It's people sharing their skills, their resources, and their experiences to achieve a common goal. So it's sharing. The problem is, a lot of times we don't know how to share those. We don't even know what our resources are. When I talk with business leaders, I'm amazed at people who have reached the highest levels in organizations who don't know what their strengths are, for example. And so your strengths are one of your resources that you bring to the table, and you use everything, your skills, your knowledge, your expertise, your education, everything that you have that's part of who you are as a person to achieve your common goal. So by sharing your knowledge, skills, resources, productivity, creativity, innovation, and profitability are increased. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this because there's some fascinating data on this. And it's important for us to know this is not just a feel-good thing. This is an important financial asset, and it's going to become more so. Collaboration improves the culture within your organization. It allows you to be more inclusive, and your relationships are more vital. So in a world in which PC culture is pushing and driving so much, collaboration alone will help you create inclusivity and vital relationships, those connected relationships, without going crazy. So one of the things, Jan, that I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. We'll have Dallas to talk a lot about some of the how-tos, the background. What I want to do today is to give you an overview on why is this so important? What's happening? And then what does it look like to collaborate? Does that make sense?
It does. And I really appreciate, Lois, that you talk about the summit, because again, as we share more and more about the summit, people, I really am excited to communicate to people that the summit is the exact model, replicated model of true collaboration and co-creation. And it's so exciting to be able to not only talk about it, but to do it and be the best model of it. So thank you, Lois.
You're way ahead of the curve. So that's great. So what do you need to collaborate? Are there some special ingredients that go into collaboration? Well, it really is a different mindset. It goes from thinking about me, I, to thinking about you, we. The pronoun changes. And, many times, because I grew up in an Asian culture, I tend to use the inclusive pronouns more. We, you, us. And people will say, well, who all is that? And I'm like, it's us right here. And
we have Antonio Rivera, who has also said the power of we. So thank you, Antonio.
It's also having a common goal. So Ahold and some food companies in UK decided to collaborate. The question is, how do you do it? We don't have a model for it. And they just thought maybe it would be a good thing. The CEOs liked each other. They wanted to get together, do things together just because they enjoyed each other. And what they discovered was, if you have a common goal, something that you're working on together, it creates momentum. And when you have momentum, you can solve critical issues. So having a common goal is very important. Focus on the long term. This is something that Simon Sinek talks a great deal about. Are you in the finite game or the infinite game? So short-term relationships are transactional. They are competitive. They are, I win, you lose. I got to get this done today because, you know what, I got to meet my numbers this quarter, right?
Yeah.
Collaboration is on the long term. It's, how do I build this relationship so I can win and keep continuing to win? And because I'm winning, you're going to win, and we're going to win together. That's a very different outlook. So the rules with which we play then are different. So when you are playing a win-lose game, it's like a sports game. You have a beginning and an end. You have a winner and you have a loser. On the other hand, when you have a collaborative, long-term relationship, there is no beginning and end. Well, there's maybe a beginning, but not an end. You keep moving and you keep building and you keep growing because
And
there's
evolving, right, Lois?
and
It
evolving.
evolves.
Yep, there's always more. So it also is bringing people together that think differently than us. One of the biggest mistakes we make in our organizations is that we bring people together that think just like us. So C-suite meets together, managers meet together, line managers meet together, production meets together. But when do these people all together meet to solve a problem?
Silos, right?
We silo. And so we tend to think same. If you bring people together that are used to working together, your solutions will be the same old solutions you've always had. You're not going to think out of the box. You're not going to create. You're not going to be innovative. So you want to bring people who are different and stretch you and push those boundaries out. So you want to look at even bringing in your competitors. Do you need to bring in government, public and private groups, non-governmental organizations? The key is, are there people who think differently than you that are participating? That is going to make all the difference. And you need a new sense of flexibility and resilience. You know what? It's not an easy solution. You're going to have to bend. It's like the bamboo tree. You know, what I love about bamboo, I used to love watching it as a child in Japan. In a storm, a bamboo will bend all the way to the ground, then up it goes, straight and erect. It's as if nothing impacted it. It's flexible, it's resilient, and that's what we're going to need to be. So why is collaboration important? Jan talked a little bit about some of the stats. I'm going to go through this a little bit more quickly. We can't compete with the big players. Absolutely. You have Blackstone coming out with research where in the IT area, 20 players will control 80% of the market share. So if you're a small to mid-sized business, you're not going to compete unless you can be bigger than life. How do you do that? You do that by collaborating. So to compete against the big players without a collaborative model, it takes much too much cash. None of us can afford it. Venture capital is becoming tighter. Even in Europe, I am told this last month that venture capital has become much more difficult to access. So think about this. There are 32.5 million small businesses in the US. Small businesses create 1.5 million jobs annually and account for 64% of new jobs. What happens with small business, mid-sized businesses, and I define that as really, my definition is a little bit larger. The traditional definition of small business is anything under 250 employees. Mid-size would go up to about 500 million. So I look at that whole range, but small business accounts for 64%. It's the backbone of our economy. If we don't thrive at this level, we are in trouble. Over 90% of business population represents small and mid-sized business. It is the bulk of our business. And the majority, 89.7% of all businesses have 20 or fewer employees.
Lois, I had a question.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You talked about the tech companies.
Yeah.
So you were saying that 20%, what was that stat that you had?
Blackstone was saying that 20% of the IT companies would own 80% of the market share. So who are those 20%? It's going to be Microsoft, Google, Facebook. It's all the big players.
Yeah.
Well, how do you, as a mid-sized business, compete with that? If they own 80%, they can snuff you out in a breath, right? So we have to start getting smarter about how we're going to work. And I think this is the gift of collaboration. It allows us to be bigger than life. It allows us to emerge with a new importance that nobody has seen before. They're not ready for it. And you know what? There's nothing more powerful than a bit of surprise.
I love it. I love it. That's what we are planning in October. So that sneak attack that nobody knows what's coming, right?
No one knows what's coming. And you know what? It has so much strength behind it. It's really great. 543,000 new business starts every month. So there's also an intense competition for resources. So M&A people tell me that small to mid-sized businesses, because of this resource issue, will not survive unless they can figure out how to maximize and grow their resources, leverage their resources. Collaboration is a great model for leveraging resources. So what else is important? 20% of small businesses fail every year. Nearly half of small businesses will fail in the first 5 years. And again, they're the backbone of our economy. So let's go on with why we collaborate. Goldman Sachs just did a survey, 1,533 small businesses. This was done in June 22, so very recent data. 93% of small business owners say that they're very worried about experiencing a recession in the next 12 months. And today on the news, I heard that we have officially entered a recession. So 38% of respondents in that study said that they see a decline in customer demand as a result of inflationary price increases on goods and services. Why is this important? If customer demand goes down, our profit, our revenue within our companies are impacted. So we really need to take a look at what is happening at this level. So what Goldman Sachs has said is that what we found is that small businesses are the tip of the spear of the economic cycle. So if you really want to look at what economic trends are coming, look at small business and you will know what's coming down the pike. So in another survey of executives, 250 executives, what they basically said is as executives, we're ready for change. So get ready. All of us, get ready for change. Change is here. Change is coming. More change is coming. And what they said is they're planning on cutting costs across function, not essential to their company. So anything that's not essential, they're going to start slashing costs. They're going to reduce costs up to 11% with the deepest cuts in real estate, research, development, marketing, and human resources. So people will be impacted as we begin to look at this.
We're already seeing that. As we said, our European partners for the summit have, when I spoke to them today, they were asking me to include information about the summit and really address issues about the inflation and they're having a lot of people, especially in tech, be
Yes.
let go.
Yeah.
And so when you talked about the issue with tech, that's why I asked you about the percentage, because that's really when you talk about shared resources, human resources, right? For talent, those tech companies really could benefit from that.
Yes, absolutely. So here's what else is interesting. 41% of the companies now, this is with positive revenue outlook and they're expecting growth, will decrease their headcount. Think about that. So you're growing, you've got positive revenue, and yet headcounts are going to decrease in 41%. 96% of companies consider transitioning their workforce into an office of the future, and that is yet being defined. Now, I've heard many definitions of this in the last week, and they go from being pretty much what we're seeing right now to being extreme. We need to think about this and be prepared. And the more prepared we are and the better solutions we have, the more protected we are in all of what we're doing, right?
Well, and Lois, didn't what our conversation was a couple of months ago, that these companies are going overseas, and Philippines, etc. And I'm all for being able to find processes and procedures when you can cut costs in certain ways. But like you said, that's going to really put a hurt on the U.S. Talent, meaning there's going to be people right now. The employees are feeling pretty strong and pretty confident, but when companies are deciding to go get virtual help and remote help overseas, that's going to really affect the U.S. market. True?
Exactly. I was talking with one person yesterday. He took 10 resumes. 10 were from each of those 10 were from different countries. One was from the US. He said, now compare these. Take a look at what people are coming to the workplace, their expectations, what they are going to bring to the business, what they're willing to learn. He said, we've got a problem with our expectations that people have coming into the workplace. So we have a dual issue that we need to work on. And one is what's going on at the organizational leadership level in terms of creating the environment for people. But then also, how do we raise people up so they're engaged, excited, and they're able to shift their expectations to be realistic. So there are a lot of benefits to collaboration. And this is research. It's the best research that's on the market right now. It comes from Deloitte. Google asked Deloitte to do this research. It was done on businesses in Australia. And what they found was this is looking at what happens within a business. So it's intra-business collaboration. So when businesses collaborate, employees collaborate within a business, guess what? They work 15% faster. 73% of the employees do better work. The quality of work improves. Think of that. Just by working together, collaborating, you have increased the quality. Think of how much money we spent on quality assurance programs.
Oh my God.
When businesses have a collaboration strategy, they're 2 times more likely to outgrow the competition. So think also on how much money we put into marketing strategies. Just by collaborating within our own businesses, we will outgrow the competition by 2-fold. Amazing. You'll 4x the growth to the bottom line when you collaborate. You're 5 times more likely to experience increase in employment. So people are going to seek you out. They're going to want to work with you. And in today's world where we see that engagement is at about 34%, you'll have increased morale by 30 to 50%. That's pretty amazing, don't you think?
I love that, Lois. I mean, when we think of all those benefits you just shared, what company wouldn't want to do that?
Well, and it's like money on the table, right? It's like money sitting on the table and you're not and you're not picking it up. So
I mean, and most of the time, like I know when we talk about our collaboration, our beta projects for the summit, that really it's about leveraging one another's resources. It's not
absolutely.
like everybody is putting, they're not, let's put it this way, they're putting up resources that they feel abundant in, right?
Yeah,
It's not a sense of lack. This is a sense of abundance and coming together to, like you said, long term for the
right,
benefit of all.
right. That is so true, Jan. So, what are the essential ingredients for collaboration? We talked about this. You need to have a common goal. And I'm going to go a little bit quicker because our time is almost up, I realize. There's an authenticity. People have got to be real. We've got to be honest. And one of the things that I'm so concerned about that's happened with our PC culture is people have stopped being who they are. They're not showing up they're as who they are. They're showing up as who they think somebody expects them to be. And without authenticity, we don't really get to the real issues. We don't get that creativity and that innovation that we are so desperate for. There needs to be a willingness to be accountable to everybody you're collaborating with, not just your boss, everybody in your collaborative circle. There's an underlying helping spirit. I'm here to help you, not because you're going to pay me more, not because it's going to take maybe less time or whatever. I'm here to help you and to collaborate because by helping, we all do better. So, if we want the best result, where do we start? Well, we start by getting a broad group of people together, people with lots of different experience, education, different perspectives, not just the C-suite, not just production. People with breadth of experience. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in Dallas because there's fabulous research on this that you look at it and you go, oh my, why aren't we doing this, right? And you need to get people involved who are willing and able to speak independently their opinions. So they're not worried about if I say this, will I get reprimanded? Is it
Right.
not appropriate in the organization? If people can't express an independent opinion, you're going to have groupthink. Groupthink is people thinking all the same. Same. You get a same result. You're not going to solve a problem. Nothing will change.
That's up there with hiring for culture fit, right, Lois?
Yeah,
I mean, it's watered down.
Yep, absolutely. And then do you have people involved who are close to the problem that you're trying to solve? You know, I'm always amazed when I work with a group and I discover that I've got the leaders involved in dealing with the problem, but the people who are actually trying to deal with it haven't been invited and can't solve the problem if the people actually involved are not invited. And then, do you have similar values regarding building and developing long-term relationships? If you're in things just for the short term, you're really not a collaborator and probably will do damage. So, are you here to build relationships and are you here for the long haul? We are really eager as we do this to make a difference. And so one of the things that Jan and I have talked about is in our beta projects, having a success measure, a collaboration success measure. We'll talk much more about this in Dallas and it'll be fun. And because it'll help you build action steps. You'll be able to really measure how you're doing. We're going to have a pre-collaboration measure. So we look at what's happening before you started to collaborate, before the beta project got started. And then, of course, what happened afterwards. And then as we do that, we will share those findings with all of you because we all want to change. We all want to grow. We all want to get better, right?
Absolutely. That's the goal.
And so, Jan, are there questions, things that you would like me to address further?
Anybody have any questions? I was looking here. I don't see any. Let me just update, refresh. I don't have any questions. I know that we were asking questions along the way. So, but I know for those of you that have just attended this is your first HR Disruptor Summit 2022 event series. The summit has started July 12th, but it is literally has 3 segments. We have our virtual live stream segment, then we have our in-person only segment that will be October 5th through 7th. And then we have our beta projects that will be born from theories in our lab to implementation in real life, in real time, outside of the actual in-person event. That will take, again, the theory to implementation, and that will go all the way till February, where at that time we're going to pick a couple of beta projects to write some white papers on, and then we will present those in March when we present the 2023 summit. So we're very excited. This is not a one and done experience. The HR Disruptor Summit really has turned into an experience that has created a movement. So I'm pretty excited about that since 2020. So again, Lois, thank you so much for sharing your information with collaboration. And I'm so just really proud to work on this project with you and look forward to participating with our beta projects at the live event. Also, to let people know, there will be 120 seats available for the in-person event, and we'll be releasing that information soon. But other than that, we'll be having our recording here on LinkedIn and look forward to staying connected with you. I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you so much, Jan. Thanks to everybody who was here listening.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.